Do you really want to know how much work there is in a perfect webinar? This is an interesting question because in the planning of a webinar or perhaps a product launch or any other significant investment into a sales experience for your prospects, you have a choice. You can either just look at the most superficial glance at how much work there is and say, oh, right, yeah, webinar. Of course, a webinar, I'm going to need some slides. But this is not really how much work there is. You see, you start breaking down what a perfect webinar is, and you start to see that there's many more additional components. Now, if you're not sure what a perfect webinar is at all, well, this was created by Russell Brunson out of ClickFunnels, and you can get it directly in a book called Expert Secrets. So look that up. If you haven't got Expert Secrets, it's part of 3 books that he has written that really are phenomenal in terms of digital marketing. But the concept that I want to look at is you look at Expert Secrets, so you look at a webinar and you're like, well, how hard can it be? How hard can it be? I just got to make a webinar and that's it. But when you go through and analyze the work, what you're going to discover is that there's significantly more pieces involved. You see, when you launch that webinar, well, you're going to need a couple more things. You're going to need an opt-in page with a form that captures their details. You're going to need a thank you page. Perhaps you're going to run an offer after the opt-in, so you need a page for that and a thank you for that. Perhaps you're going to open people's minds up to the concepts that you're going to deal with in the webinar. And so you might say, well, I need a pre-webinar video, perhaps 2 or 3. But each of those videos needs slides, needs to be recorded, needs a page, and needs an email to let the people know that they exist. Then there is the actual reminder sequence for the webinar itself. And this could be email, but this could also involve SMS. So you need to have the content written for that. And then after the email, you've got a decision. Do you allow for a replay or not? And if you do, well, you need another page for the replay and more email sequences for that. And then for those who did see the webinar and perhaps they're on the edge, they're trying to decide. And so you choose to do an objection video or perhaps 2. And so they need the videos, they need the pages, and they need emails. And then you've got the final day, the actual close. And for that, most likely you're just going to need maybe 3, 4 emails as well as 1, perhaps 2 SMS. And you thought it was just 1 set of slides. And you're like, man, why is this taking so long to do? Why is it taking 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months for someone to get a webinar live? Because they failed or they did not want to look at the true amount of work. Now, it's a lot of work. What I just covered there is a lot of work. And each of those pieces, ideally, if you want to maximize your productivity, is to actually build them first in terms of some kind of Google document that can be edited and improved easily. And then that needs to be taken across to the software and installed and tested. But what I'm learning at this point is that the ability to have all of those pieces done at least in a reasonable form, and then take those to an expert, take those to a copywriter, take those to someone who's not in my own head and look at it and they go, dude, this is great, or dude, this is not great. This is not going to work. This is not clear. Before I go ahead and start producing videos, start producing and uploading into software. No, let's get that stuff dealt with before all of the final production. Why? Because it is so much easier to have it reviewed and edited in a Google Doc form than it is to look at a final produced video and go, this is not going to work. Then you have to go all the way back to the Google document and then progress through. So the question is, do you want to know? My hint is that you actually do want to know. Why? Because it's going to set out all of the work that has to be done in order to achieve this. And if it's too much, then you can choose to scale back and say, you know what? We're just going to have one indoctrination video. We're going to have one objection video. We're not going to run too many things on this. We're not going to have a self-liquidating offer after the opt-in. And then once it's up and running and we're getting some results, then we'll start building it. So it depends on your team size, it depends on your organizational skills. But when you plan this stuff correctly, you get two advantages. One, you can actually get a look at all of the work. Number two, you get to build out that work and know when you're done. There's not surprises. And number three, you get to do the editing before you go ahead into actual production. This is very similar, in actual fact, to what we were covering yesterday with software development. So perhaps there's a theme developing here in terms of creating content, then going through editing content, then producing the content and uploading the content. Very similar between the software experience and this perfect webinar planning. That's all I got for you today. I hope you got some value out of that. If you want to go check out Perfect Webinar, go get Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems, create results. See you then.